Let's start with a question. What if the way most of us think about survival is, well, just plain wrong? Today, we're going to dig into a really unique guide called Blast Proof, David's Shield. We're using a detailed review to break down its core philosophy, its pretty unconventional teachings, and, figure out who this is actually for.
Yeah, this quote from the review really says it all, doesn't it? When things get chaotic, what do people really want? It's not just more gear, it's certainty, it's reassurance. They're looking for a map to get through the mess. Okay, let's take a closer look at this map they're offering. We're going to deconstruct it and see what it's all about. And just to be clear, this isn't a map for a weekend power outage. Nope. This is for a world where the lights go out and they don't come back on. So what exactly is it? Well, at its core, it's a digital guide, but it's all built around one single, kind of stark premise, that if the power grid goes down for good, we're talking a massive cyber attack, an EMP, something big, then all that cool, modern survival gear we have, yeah, pretty much useless. And this motto really gets to the heart of it all. Knowledge over gear, systems over shopping lists. I love that. It's basically telling you to stop obsessing over expensive, complex equipment. Instead, you should be focusing on repeatable, low-tech systems that will actually work no matter what. And that whole focus on systems, well, that leads us right into the guide's core philosophy. See, it's not about endlessly speculating about what might happen, but about building real systems for what could. The guide's entire philosophy really stands on three main pillars. First, there's this idea of biblical preparedness, looking at figures like Noah and Joseph. Second, it pulls from the hard-won lessons of actual historical survival. And third, it takes a very modern, very clear-eyed look at just how fragile our infrastructure is. It's a really fascinating blend of faith, history, and modern-day threats. This quote from the review just cuts right to the heart of it. The person this is for isn't someone who wants to play soldier. It's for the person asking that really fundamental, terrifying question. How do I feed my family if the world as we know it just stops? And this all leads to a really interesting concept the guide calls quiet resilience. It's about being defensive, not confrontational, about going unnoticed instead of showing off high-tech gear. It's a sustainable, long-term approach that's a huge shift from the typical, more aggressive image of survivalism. Okay, so we get the philosophy, right? But what are the nuts and bolts? What do you actually learn? In this next section, we're going to look inside the guide at the practical, electricity-free skills that it teaches. First up, the big one, food. The guide leans heavily on non-electric methods, like Amish-style preservation. Think of it as taking the logic of a root cellar and adapting it to a modern home. Because in a real long-term blackout, your food supply is one of the very first things to become a major problem. Next up, water. So much mainstream survival content just doesn't spend enough time on this. This guide assumes the taps aren't turning back on, so it teaches you things like gravity-based filtration and how to find hidden or overlooked water sources, all without needing a single bit of electricity for a pump. That whole quiet resilience idea also extends to shelter. The core principle here is low visibility. How do you stay warm and have light without basically sending up a giant flare to the world that says, hey, we have resources over here? It's all about not making yourself a target when things get scarce. And, of course, that leads directly to security. Again, the philosophy is deterrence over confrontation. This is not about planning for armed standoffs. It's about using natural and psychological defenses to make your home seem like an unappealing, difficult target, basically encouraging any intruders to just move on. A theme that keeps coming up is using the Amish as a model of resilience. The review calls this applied anthropology, which I think is a great way to put it. It's not about aesthetics or playing pretend. It's about extracting practical, proven systems for community and survival that have worked for centuries without electricity. All right, let's bring this all together. In our final section, we're going to analyze the guide's legitimacy based on the review and give a clear verdict on who this program is really for and who it's not for. And this is the big question, isn't it? With any product in this niche, you always have to ask, is the information legitimate or is this just clever marketing that's preying on our fears? The review offers a really balanced, smart answer here. It separates the framing from the content. So yeah, the marketing language can be dramatic and intense. It uses a lot of fear-based language. But the content itself is practical, measured, and rooted in historically proven methods. The takeaway is that the survival logic is sound, even if you don't necessarily share the worldview it's wrapped in. So who is this actually for? Well, it's ideal for families who are genuinely worried about long-term blackouts, and for preppers looking for a plan that's aligned with their faith. It's also for anyone who's skeptical of high-tech solutions. On the other hand, it's not for tactical trainees or gadget enthusiasts who want an instant fix. And the price for the digital guide? It's $67. The review positions this as an accessible knowledge product. You're not buying a $1,000 piece of gear. You're buying a system of information. So, the ultimate takeaway is this. David's Shield isn't a modernization guide, it's a demodernization manual. Its purpose isn't to help you out-tech a collapse with gadgets that will probably fail, but to teach you how to simply outlast it with proven, timeless methods. And that leaves us with a final, provocative question to think about. What is true preparedness, really? Is it about trying to out-tech a disaster with all the latest gear, or is it about being able to outlast it with timeless knowledge?